Hey everybody, hope you're well, and it's James here over at the Part-Time Entrepreneur. Today what I wanted to go through was 4 ICOs that I believe have gone under the radar. Now, with so many ICOs coming out and all the rest of it, it is impossible sometimes to keep up with the amount of ICOs that are going on. I've had a list that I've been trying to work through, and it seems every day another 2 or 3 seem to go on the list, and even people in my group are adding people to the list, and it's going nuts. So there are some key ones that we know, the big ones, everybody knows about them, everyone tried to get in on them, and not everyone did, and all the rest of it. But I believe that there's 4 at the moment, and there'll be potentially more by the end of the year as well, that I just think they've just gone under the radar a little bit. So as always, none of this is financial advice. It's just my own personal research, my own and my own thoughts on these things. So, without further ado, let's get started and move to our first ICO. So, Kin. So, Kick is a huge platform which is obviously going to be integrated with Kin. There's already 50 million active users. There's 300 million people signed up. So if you're looking for something that's going to get mass adoption, this is it. And just as an example, 10x has 30,000 people holding tokens at the moment. So you assume that those guys are going to get cards. You compare that to 50 million, it's a small dip in the ocean. So these guys have leverage, and leverage is huge because they can use this to get this mass adoption very, very quickly, and also the understanding education, because we know already when we start talking to people about cryptocurrency, they start to look at us a little bit funny and all the rest of it. So mass adoption is going to be huge, and they can do this very, very quickly. The other thing is that the basis in which they're putting Kin together is based on some studies and bits and pieces that they've already done with something called kick points, where people were able to earn and also spend these points. And I think they were saying they did something like 4 times the global amount of Bitcoin transactions using the kick points. So first of all, they've got the platform. Second of all, it's proven and tested. They've also got a well-known team which is incredibly strong. Now, some of the things that stick out is that they're only releasing 10% of the tokens distributed, so it would be 1 trillion. So there are going to be a total of 10 trillion altogether, which does sound like quite a lot. But in terms of the social media platforms, I think, or messaging platforms, overall, I think if it gets this mass adoption, then I don't think it'll be such an issue, because there'll only be 1 trillion to start off with, and a lot of these tokens will be released later on, so slow release, and they will be released in terms of people performing tasks within the Kick platform, and then obviously they get the Kin as tokens, and again putting content up and all these types of things. So they're going to get paid in these Kin tokens. There is a hard cap of 125 million. Again, sticks out a little bit. That seems quite a lot, considering maybe the state of the market at this present moment in time. Seemed quite a lot. I'm not sure if they'll hit that, but I do think that the project is very good. I think it's got the legs to go very quick and very fast. And even if it's just the project that brings it to the mass markets, I still think it's one that we, as a community, to support. The only real downside was that in their white paper, the documentation was just a little bit vague, but the videos that they've put out are incredibly good, and it does give you a good overview of their business and their vision as well, because that's something that I look for in most companies, is what is their vision, where they're going, what do they want to achieve. So for me, that's Kin. And just a brief overview. Again, if you want to watch like 10 and 20-minute videos, there's plenty of them on YouTube out there. My stuff is just really concise, to the point, just to give you the hard facts so you can go away and do your own research. My next one is Utrust. Now, I came across Utrust by accident, and the reason I came across Utrust was because I was locked and loaded for the Manetha ICO, which was a bit of a balls up, to say the least. But if it wasn't for that, I would have never found Utrust, because I'm looking for certain things. When I'm looking at ICOs at the moment, I'm looking at things that are already proven in the marketplace. So things like, you got PayPal, eBay, Amazon, all these types of things. They're all very, very good concepts that work very, very well. But there's just little niggling issues with fees and all these types of things. And obviously with the cryptocurrency, these, we can fix those issues, because obviously we can eradicate fees and bits and pieces. So with Utrust, it's a payment platform very much like PayPal, and their closest competitor would have to be Monetha at this point in time. They both are looking to reduce credit card fraud. So obviously, that's huge in the marketplace with credit card fraud, and it's so easily. Even when you go into, I've had so many friends have their cards copied, and then all of a sudden, and I even had it happen to me. I went to Spain on holiday, used a cash machine, like a local cash machine, and then probably 2 months later, I was apparently spending loads of money abroad, and they were hitting that just under that special £30 bracket, so it wasn't triggering all the time, and someone was buying loads and loads of £30 worth of fuel everywhere. So credit card fraud is huge, and then that took me nearly 2 weeks to get that money back, and they even wanted me to go to Spain and go to the store to certify that, loads of things, which was just ridiculous. So it can be a pain in the bum, credit card fraud, and they're going to eradicate that. The one thing that these guys have over Monetha, and this is why I've gone bigger in Utrust now than I've completely reduced my Monetha pretty much. I'm probably down to about 2,000 units now, and I'll probably end up offloading a lot of that. But the customer protection, it's the one thing that people really, really want. If they're spending their cryptocurrency, or even if it's their money, you want that security that if the other guy on the other end, the seller, is a bit dodgy, that you can get your money back. And they have the conflict resolution. And obviously PayPal, that's what brought PayPal it gave it its stardom in a sense, because it had this conflict resolution. So if there's something went wrong, there was someone to mediate and sort out the issues. And Utrust have this, and this is why I think it's going to be, it will take over. It will take over, and when you pay in crypto, you can get paid in fiat currency, obviously cash. So they've got all the elements, and when I compare it to something like Monetha, which I would say is their closest competitor, they've just got that leading edge. And if it wasn't for that whole ICO malarkey, I would have never come across these guys. So I'm very thankful for that situation, if I'm fair. They also have reduced fees at 1%. So again, if you look at Monetha, it's 1.5. So again, another really good selling point here. And if you use the Utrust tokens, there's no fees at all. So that's really, really good. The other thing is that there's going to be, there's price and there's value, and I think a lot of the time people get them confused as the same thing, and they're very much not. So with Utrust, what they have is they have 100 billion initial offering of coins, and then every time a transaction takes place, there's obviously a fee. That fee doesn't go back into circulation. That fee of coins gets burnt, so that then disappears from the whole ecosystem. So over time, there's going to be less and less coins. So you might pay, let's say, $8 cents for a Utrust coin. Long term, just on the basis that people are using it, and the fees are now burning up, every day your coin is going to be increasing in value, as long as people keep using it, obviously. So every time you use the coin and there's a fee, it gets burnt, and there's a cap of 50 million a year on that sort of burn rate. And then eventually you'll be left with 100 million minimum left in supply. So obviously that's a huge amount less. So that coin is going to grow in value, not only through the liquidity of using it, but also through the fact that there's all the fees are going to burn up the coins very gradually over the years. They'll have a live version out in Q2 2018, so you don't have to wait too long as well. So for me, this is again long-term project, really exciting, and I'm glad that things happened as they did, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have come across Utrust. But again, as I always say, is just do as much research as you can, try and research as many coins as you can, and sometimes you just come across some little gems like Utrust, and I'm sort of really happy to have found that. And again, if you look at some of the things versus PayPal and also BitPay, which are probably classed as another key competitor, I mean, on every single measure there, they're beating it in terms of, you know, the decentralized platform, you know, no chargebacks, you know, lots of different things. I'm not going to run through it too much. You've got the chart there, you can have a look at it. But you know, it's the main things is obviously the lower fees. That's the biggest thing in this current times, is where people are trying to save money, especially retailers on the other end who are selling. You know, because all they'll do is, if they have to pay more fees, they'll just add it to the cost of goods, and that means you have to pay more, where they'll either do one or two things. It either makes them more profitable, or if they want to be really competitive, they can invest that back into making the product cheaper, so you get a better bargain. Next on my list is Sentra. So before I start, I'm quite heavy into 10x. Sentra, I believe, when we look at the certain marketplaces, let's take supermarkets for instance. So you'll always have whatever product it is. You know, we've already talked about, you know, Monetha and Utrust. You know, there's already a couple, and there'll be more, BitPay and all the rest of it. And I believe in certain spaces there'll be room for more than one. There's not going to be one that's going to, it's going to be 80-90% of the marketplace. There's going to be different reasons why different people use certain cards. For instance, they'll use a Sentra, they'll use a 10x, they'll use a Monaco card, and all depending on their use and the fees and bits and pieces. So I do believe that there's marketplaces for, you know, within, I would say, the payment system that we're going to talk about now, that there can be 4 or 5 really strong players. There'll be, you know, there's obviously going to be a market leader. There's going to be 2 or 3 which are always going to be sort of nipping at their heels, and then there's going to be a whole bunch of others that, you know, secondary as well. But I do think Sentra has the capability to be within one of those top 4. And some of the reasons is, you know, you can have a debit card. They very much use cold wallets, so any one time, only 1% of the crypto is kept on the network as such. So, you know, it's a lot safer. They also have a product in beta as well. So, you know, they've got some really cool videos of one of their top dogs going out and using the Sentra card. Looks really slick, looks really easy to use. I was really impressed with it. Again, they're going to have a max 170,000 Ether in the ICO. There'll be 100 million tokens from the start, and there'll only be 68 million circulated. So if we compare that to 10x, there's actually going to be a lot less. So I think 10x full circulation will be about 204 million. Again, I think, again, sometimes these things happen by mistake. Cliff High give this company a massive boost, giving them a huge rating, and then it turned out that his bot or whatever he uses was wrong, and he sort of had to like retake back what he said. But in the process, what he did do was give them a huge amount of feedback of things to go work on, and their team are very, very active, and they went away and worked on those things. So again, sometimes these things happen by mistake, and they end up having massive and great results. The other thing is that you can earn cash back when you spend with your card, versus something like 10x. We'll have a look at the fees and bits and pieces in a minute. But with 10x, there's also a residual income element with it. With Sentra, there isn't. It's just higher cashback amounts depending on which card you hold. So depending on which card you hold or what level you invest at, depends on what colour card you get. And the colour card is a bit more of a status system. Unfortunately, I only got a blue one. I haven't got one of the King Daddy O 100 Ether ones because I don't have 100 Ether yet. And then they've got, what really appealed to me was the fact that they've got something called CBay. And CBay is going to be a little bit like eBay come Amazon, where you can go and spend your cryptocurrency and buy items on there. And again, like I said in earlier videos, there's already concepts out there that are working, but there's just little issues with it. I know, I've seen eBay over the years that became huge, but then when they started hitting people with like really high fees, and then you were paying with PayPal and you had to pay the PayPal fees, all of a sudden you could be down, you could sell something and you're paying 14% fees, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. It's not good business. Well, it is for eBay and PayPal, but it's not for us, the consumers that use the product. So hopefully these guys are going to be able to just eradicate most of that cost out. The other thing is as well, they've got 0% exchange fees, which is really, really good. So again, this whole thing of fees, because that's what cripples a lot of businesses and bits and pieces, is all these fees on fees on fees on fees for all these different things, when really it's not necessary. We know it's not necessary, but the financial industry seem to just pile them on. The other thing is there's a range of cards. There's lots of different levels that you can invest at. The only thing is that you need, the minimum investment is 5 Ethereum. So that is the minimum. So that could be a barrier to some maybe newbies or some people that only want to invest like a few £100. But overall, I like what I see. It should be on exchanges by October, and keep your eyes out for the 19th of September, because that will be the ICO date where you can get your cards. Then they've got some data to sort of compare what they look like versus other cards. Now, what I like to do is, I'm bullish on these cards. I like them. But what I need to highlight is that when they do comparisons, they're making the comparison against one of their higher end cards versus the 10x, the Monacos and stuff. So again, with most of the items that they're listing there, they're pretty decent in terms of, you get full control, incentives they've got on there, which is pretty decent. So 0%, 0.8%. I only get 0.5% with 10x. Sorry, 0.1% with each purchase, but then I earn 0.5% of their total revenue, which will outstrip that pretty much. But again, that's still pretty decent. The coins, obviously 10x adding a whole bunch more to obviously compete. So I think by the time they're finished, that'll be much of a muchness there. And then if you're looking at the card limit spends, they're actually, Sentra's top end is actually something like 250,000, and it's a lot more if you've got like the high end card. So they've gone for I think their top end or second top end card basically to do the comparison. So not in every case are they completely comparable. If you take the blue and the gold card, that's probably where most people are investing at that level. 10x would just nudge it just a little bit in terms of card spending, but I don't. Over time, that will probably increase anyway. I mean, I don't see that being a huge barrier for anybody in this marketplace. But again, some real strong metrics in there, and I think they're going to give 10x a good run for their money. But I think that you need that. If there's two strong competitors in the marketplace, then that creates competition. It creates standards, and standards is what we need in this marketplace, because if we've got better standards, then we get a better level of service, because they'll be fighting for our custom, which is great for us. So then we look at the cards payment. So as we can see, there is some small differences in fees. Now if we look at like WireX, jeepers, $50, no thanks. And all these virtual card annual fees, no thanks. You can see that 10x and Sentra are very, very similar in this domain. So it's two very, very strong competitors, and what that means going forward is that it's going to create more value for us. It's going to create better standards, and I'm really excited to see these two go head to head. So my final one is Cash Poker Pro. Now, these guys have proven success with over 50 plus games that they've released, And they've also have the #1 bingo game in Russia, online game that is, and they've got loads of others in the top 5 in lots of other different categories. We know that, you know, gambling is something like $47 billion worldwide, and poker accounts for about 6%. And just to give you a bit of an overview, the lottery accounts for 9%. So you think about the amount of people that go out and buy a lottery ticket, you know, and at 9%, and poker's 6%. So it's huge, huge marketplace. There's going to be 100 million tokens in circulation, but on the sale, there's only going to be 68 million. It's a completely anonymous platform. Obviously, it's going to be run by the blockchain and smart contracts, which will obviously generate the random numbers and hands and stuff for the poker. So, you know, I think there's loads of concern. We've all seen the Justin Timberlake film and that, where they're sort of stealing people and messing with the tables and the numbers and all this type of thing. Here, it's obviously on the blockchain. It's going to be completely random, and I think it gives you that peace of mind that it's all done legit and properly. The other really cool thing is that with a lot of other poker sites and different things, there's always fees for cashing in and out, and it all comes down to this fees again. This huge. With Cash Poker Pro, there's no fees. The fees and their money revenue stream comes from the tables. So obviously when you play poker, the table takes a small rake, and that rake is anywhere between 1 and 5% commission, and that commission percentage of it will then, I think it's about 1%, will be distributed to token holders. So by holding the Cash Poker Pro token, you can earn a residual income. I like residual income. It's, you know, why I hold the 10x card, because you can earn a residual income. I have a network marketing business outside of cryptocurrency. I love that because while I'm asleep, I'm still making money. I've got, I think, something like 60 or 70% of my team is in America. So while I'm sleeping, I'm making money, and I love that concept. There's also a referral option as well, so you can start referring people and promoting it and pushing it yourself. So the more people that play, the more money you make. And you can just put it in, you know, we've all got Facebook, Twitter, all that type of thing. And if you imagine every coin holder does that, how big could this be? That's crazy. The other thing is that you can run your own tables and you can earn. And they put like an example in the white paper that if 1 million was gambled on the tables that you're running, then you would earn a 10k commission. And they put it over like a week period or something like that. I don't think I have any friends that would gamble 1 million playing poker, but it's a nice concept, and you never know, especially with the professional poker players. If you're within those realms and you get those guys playing, then you know that could be a complete reality with the sort of money that they play at as well. It'd be great to get something like the Cash Poker Pro Tour, and people playing against each other using, you know, the online system, or even playing with cryptocurrency. That'd be pretty cool. So you know, there's lots of potential that can still happen. So they're in the second stage of their ICO. So their first ICO, pre-ICO, has already happened. If you got in, you would have got in at 0.5 cents. I know I should have done this video earlier. So, but going forward, you can see that over the following dates, there's going to be releases of coins, and you can get in at some pretty decent values, even up until the 14th of November. And then after the 18th of November, one Cash Poker Pro token is going to be worth $1. So, you know, you can easily double your money on this, which is quite decent. I would say, you know, there's a couple of things with the coins where people can earn an income. You're not going to be freely selling them, because you want to, one, get the value from the coin, and two, get the residual income from the coin. And again, you can run your own tables. So there's lots of different ways that you can make money from the Cash Poker Pro token, and that's why it's my #1 today. And I hope that you've enjoyed the overview today. I do have a free cryptocurrency community group. You're more than welcome to come and join. It'd be great to have you. You know, there's some groups out there where you have to pay. I don't believe that you should have to pay for groups. That's not how we roll. This is about building a community, building on educating people and stuff. So I do have a crypto course that you can opt into as well. The link is below on my Udemy page, and you can you learn all my secrets in terms of how to go from A to B, and also for me the psychology of trading and all these different types of things. So if you're really serious about cryptocurrency and making some good money in the future, then potentially that course might be a great investment for you. Appreciate your time as always, guys. Thank you very much. Leave some feedback, subscribe to the channel. It's been great having you, and I'll hopefully speak to you again soon.